You know that feeling when you look at the world or maybe even just your own to-do list and it just feels overwhelmingly complex? Well, today we're going to dive into a really powerful idea from Nobel laureate Herbert Simon that might just change how you see, well, everything. And it all starts with a simple story about an ant.
So to really get this big idea, Simon asks us to picture something super small, navigating a huge, messy, and totally unpredictable landscape. Just imagine tracing that ant's path in the sand. You wouldn't see a straight line, right? No way. You'd see this incredibly complicated, zigzagging, almost chaotic-looking line. It's about the furthest thing from a simple walk from point A to point B. And that right there leads to the big question. Is this ant some kind of super genius with a PhD in navigation executing this unbelievably complex plan? Or is there something else going on here?
This is where Simon's idea gets so brilliant, because his answer totally flips the question on its head. He gives us a brand new way to see where all that complexity is really coming from.
And here's the big reveal. The complexity we're seeing, it has almost nothing to do with the ant. It's all about the beach. The ant itself is just following a few very simple rules, like if there's a pebble, walk around it, or keep heading generally that way. The crazy path is just a perfect mirror of the complex, lumpy, bumpy world it has to walk across.
And then Simon drops the bombshell. He says, we are the ant. All the winding, complicated, sometimes chaotic-looking paths our own lives take. That's not because we're these deeply complex beings with intricate master plans. It's often just the path of a simple creature, us, trying to make our way through a profoundly complex world.
Okay, so if we're basically simple on the inside but living in this complex world, what does that actually mean for how we think and make choices every day? This is where Simon gives us this crucial concept he called bounded rationality.
You know, we all like to think of ourselves as these perfectly rational beings, but Simon points out that that's just not possible. We're not supercomputers who can calculate the absolute best outcome for every single choice. Our minds, our inner environment, have some serious bottlenecks.
Just think about your short-term memory. It's one of the biggest bottlenecks we have. On average, most of us can only juggle about 7 pieces of information in our head at one time. It's why you can remember a phone number just long enough to dial it, and then poof, it's gone.
And even to get one of those little chunks of info to stick in our long-term memory, it takes real effort. The research suggests it takes about 8 seconds of solid focus to really lock in a new idea. These aren't just quirks, you know, they're actual physical limits on how we process the world. So what do we do about it? Well, because of these limits, we almost never optimize. We do something else, a thing Simon called satisficing. It's a mix of satisfy and suffice. We don't spend forever looking for the absolute perfect car or the perfect job. We look until we find one that's good enough, one that checks our main boxes, and then we choose. Because for our simple minds, trying to find the absolute best option in a complex world is basically impossible.
Okay, but wait a minute. This kind of creates a puzzle, right? If we're simple creatures with these real mental limits, how on earth do we manage to do all the incredible things we do? How do we build skyscrapers and run global companies and, I don't know, send rovers to Mars?
This is the absolute core question that Simon's work tries to answer. What is our secret weapon? What's the fundamental strategy that lets a simple system, us, not just survive, but actually thrive in a ridiculously complex environment?
And the answer? It's actually so elegant. We don't try to make our brains more complex. That's too hard. Instead, we design an interface to stand between our simple minds and the complex world. We build tools and systems and plans, and Simon called all of this stuff the artificial.
Now, artificial here doesn't mean fake or phony. It just means anything made by humans to get something done. A clock, for example, is an artificial tool that helps our simple minds interface with the complex rotation of the Earth. A company's organizational chart is an artificial system for dealing with the complexity of hundreds of people working together. Even your monthly budget is an artificial tool for navigating your finances. So think of all these artificial things, these artifacts, as a kind of bridge. They are the meeting point. They take the messy, complicated outer world and simplify it so our limited inner world can actually handle it and make good decisions. A subway map is a perfect example, right? It's not a real map of the ground. It's a simplified design that helps you achieve your goal, getting from point A to point B without getting lost.
And this brings us to the final, and I think most powerful idea from all of this.
It totally reframes not just how we see the world around us, but how we see our own role in it.
Just let that quote sink in for a second. Design isn't some fancy thing just for architects or graphic artists. According to Simon, if you are making a plan to solve a problem, any problem at all, you are a designer. You are actively working to change a situation from how it is into how you would prefer it to be.
Think about it. Every time you organize your schedule for the week, you're designing a system to manage the complexity of time. When you make a budget, you're designing an interface to deal with your finances. We are all designing, all the time, often without even realizing that's what we're doing.
So the next time you're facing down some big, hairy, complex problem, just remember the ant on the beach. The answer probably isn't to try and become a super genius who can hold all the details in your head. The real answer is to think like a designer. The challenge isn't to absorb all the complexity yourself, it's to design a simpler path right through the middle of it.